Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing a fun project featuring some brand new products from the Pinkfresh Studio April 2022 release. I love these nested stars and I can't wait to show you a couple ways to use them over the next couple of days. So here is a look at the entire new Pinkfresh Studio release. There is quite a variety of different products in this release. There's some cover plates, there's some cling stamps, there's some regular stamps, hot foil, you name it, this release has it, and I think you're gonna love it. And I'm gonna put a link to the entire release down in the YouTube description below, but I thought I would quickly just flip through the products so you could have a look at these. As I mentioned, there is quite the variety and I absolutely love these new cover plate dies. I will be using those in an upcoming video soon. And this one might be one of my favorites here. This is the Peony Print hot foil plate, cling background stamp, and of course, the coordinating stencils as well. Now there's also another cling background stamp. This one is called Blooming Vines, and instead of having a hot foil plate, it has a coordinating die set along with the layering stencils. This gorgeous stamp, stencil, and die set is called Magnolias, and I absolutely love this kind of mini hot foil plate along with the coordinating layering stencils and dies. And finally, we have the nested stars. Now, this is an addition to the nested shapes that were released last month. And if you missed that, I'm going to share a video up in the upper right-hand corner, and that'll share 5 ways to use these nested hot foil shapes. Now, today I'm going to be making a receding window card using both the hot foil stamps from this nested stars set as well as the coordinating dies. And tomorrow I'm sharing another video featuring these same stars, but I will be combining them with the Pinkfresh Studio shaker stars and creating a shaker card that you're going to love. So I have 3 colors of pink cardstock, and I'm starting with the lightest color, and I'm positioning the largest of the nested stars hot foil plates onto kind of the upper right-hand side of this cardstock. And I taped it in place using some low-tack tape, and then I slipped some Prism foil from Spellbinders under that. And I have heated that up on my Gemini FoilPress for about a minute, and then I took that platform out, ran it through my Gemini Junior, and now I have this hot foil star on this pink cardstock. Now I am going to repeat this process with the smaller stars on darker pink cardstock. So I'm going to go from lightest to dark, and I'm going to go from largest to smallest with these stars. So I'm going to move on to the next darkest color cardstock, and this is actually blush cardstock from the Stamp Market. The first one was Bazzill Pale Rose, and I am using the same piece of foil that I used to foil my largest star on that first piece of cardstock. I'm holding that in place with some low-tack tape, and I'm placing that with the back side of the hot foil plate facing the platform of that foil press, and I'm covering that with the shim. If you want more information or more detailed video on how to do hot foiling, I will put a card in the upper right-hand corner sharing some details on that. I ran that through my Gemini Junior die cut machine, and then I'm going to remove that foil, and I have a gorgeous foiled star. And finally, I'll foil the smallest star on the Stamp Market Salmon cardstock, and that smallest star is actually a solid star. So here they are, all of the stars in their foiled glory. I absolutely love this Prism foil from Spellbinders because it has that kind of holographic effect to it. Now these coordinating dies, they have both an outer and an inner die for each of these shapes, except for the smallest because it's not a window. So you'll get several of these stars, and I'm going to use just the inner dies for each of these to create a window on this cardstock. So I'm positioning those and I'm holding them in place with some low-tack tape, and I was actually very careful to make sure that my tape did not touch any of the foil because this tape is low-tack and the foil is pretty durable, but I don't want to take the risk of messing it up in any way. So I've positioned my tape where it just kind of goes into the center of those stars. And then I'm placing this in my die cutting sandwich and running that through my Gemini Junior to die cut the center window of these stars. And if you want to know more about my Gemini Junior favorite die cutting sandwich, I'll throw a card up in the upper right hand corner. Again, I'm throwing a lot of cards today. So you can see I have my largest window here. I'll pop the center out of this darker pink cardstock, this blush cardstock, and you can see how I'm going to build up this receding window effect. It's going to be so much fun. It gets even more fun when we start adding a variance in dimension. So you can see all of these pieces here together. I'm going to actually trim these down and temporarily adhere them together so that it makes it a little bit easier to work with as I continue to design my card. But you can kind of see where we're going with this. And keep in mind, I'm using pinks today, but you could change up this color scheme for any occasion. I think stars are such a versatile, celebratory shape. You can use them for birthdays, babies, graduations. Those cards are not the easiest to make usually, but I think they're so much fun. And with a little bit different color scheme, you could make this work for any celebration. So I am using some removable tape runner adhesive to position these windows behind each other. I don't want to permanently adhere them. I'm going to be doing a little bit more work on my card front, but I do want to be able to kind of see where I'm going. So I'm just using that repositionable adhesive to hold it all together so I can get a good idea. Now, I've trimmed these down just really roughly. You're never going to see the back of this, so it's not going to matter. So just take your scissors and chop it up. And then you can see what this looks like. Now, this doesn't have any dimension, but when we add the foil, or not the foil, the foam adhesive behind this, it's going to be fabulous. Now, I have used the Pinkfresh Studio Slim Stripes die set to die cut some of these cardstock strips for my card front. And I am temporarily adhering them to a scrap piece of white paper. These cardstock colors are Stamp Market Blush, the Stamp Market Salmon, and Concord and 9th Grapefruit. I used the Grapefruit, which is a little bit darker. It's kind of technically more an orange, but this is for my card front, and I didn't want to use the Bazzill Pale Rose on top of the Bazzill Pale Rose card front. So I chose another color that just kind of blends in really nicely. And I have all of these temporarily adhered to that scrap piece of white computer paper. Now I'm taking the largest die from the Nested Stars die set, and I'm lining that up so that I can die cut all of these strips at once. I've kind of butted them up against the star where I want them to kind of meet the star. And I'm going to die cut them using the edge of this Nested Star die. And what that's going to give me is the shape of the edge of the star where I can do a little gap between the foil frame and these little, I don't know, are they shooting star rays? I'm not sure. So once I know that that's going to work, I'm going to kind of hold them in place. I'm using the same pieces of tape over and over again. It looks like I'm using a ton of tape in this video, but they were literally like the same pieces of tape. So I'm going to hold those in place. I'm going to turn it over, trim off the excess, pull them off of the white scrap paper, and then I'm going to use some tape runner adhesive to adhere them onto my card front. Now these are really easy to adhere and line up because I have that kind of star edge shape die cut into these strips. So I'm just going to position them right next to each other and press them down on my card. And then I have this fun little design element there. I then used the stitched rectangle dies from Pinkfresh Studio to die cut this panel and add a little stitching around the edge. And I made sure that those rays were attached to my card front before I die cut this so that that stitching would carry over to the edge of those little shooting star rays as well. Now I flipped the card front over and I added some foam adhesive over the entire card front back. And then I adhered my next window. And then I'm going to flip this over again and I'm going to add another layer of foam adhesive to this back. And I'm going to remove the backer to the foam adhesive and add that little piece of cardstock that has that solid foiled star in there. So I not only have the windows that are decreasing in size, but I have the darker cardstock and the difference in dimension. And it really does make for a really cool window card. Now for my sentiment, I am using the Pinkfresh Studio Classic Words die set. I've cut the shadow of the Celebrate word out of some vellum, and then I've die cut the main sentiment out of white cardstock 3 times and stacked that up, and then finally out of some holographic cardstock, and I layered that on top to give it some dimension. Now I'm using that same holographic cardstock, this is from Erin Lee Creative, to die cut this Hearts and Stars cover plate from Pinkfresh Studio. And I'm going to pop the little stars and hearts out of this die, this cover plate background, and use them as embellishments on my card. So I thought this was a really fun way to use this cover plate. I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but just out of this little small portion of holographic cardstock, I was able to get lots of stars and have some holographic hearts to set aside to use on another project. And I added those onto my card front using a little bit of the Barely Arts liquid glue, which I love. And to pick up those stars to add them to my card front, I'm using the Studio Katia embellishment wand. Finally, I've taken and I've adhered my sentiment to my card front. And then I'm going to take this entire thing and I am going to add it to a side folding A2 size card base. So I have cut my cardstock to 5.5 by 8.5 inches and scored it at 4.25 inches. And then I can remove the backer from all of this foam adhesive and place it onto my card front. I absolutely love this card. I think it is so much fun. It is a perfect birthday card. It's a perfect retirement card. It's great for graduations and babies. I think it's so versatile. And just by changing up the color scheme, you could make it perfect for any celebration. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube, or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I will have it linked below. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, a complete list of supplies, as well as some information on a blog hop that this card project is a part of. There's giveaways and so much inspiration, so be sure you head on over there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you loved this receding window card idea with those hot foil holographic accents. I think it is so much fun and the shine will just knock your socks off. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials that I share here. And if you loved this video, I would love it if you would share it with a friend. Thanks again, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.